This is Charles A. Archer, and welcome to our series, The Influencers, where we introduce you to people who in society are affecting change. We've just recently celebrated Black History Month, February 2015, and it's an exciting time to sit down with the mayor and see what his thoughts are on the African American community, the things that we can be doing differently and better, and how everybody can really work together in a city where everybody should matter. Thank you, Mayor Dinkins.
Happy to be here with you.
Thank you so much. As the 106th mayor and the first African American mayor of New York City, what do you think has changed since your time as mayor and the plight of the African American in the city today?
Well, many things have changed for the better. For instance, we have the first African American president of these United States. Frankly, when I was elected mayor, that was 1989. I served January 1st, 1990 for 4 years. And had one put the question to me then, I would have said, no, I'm not so sure we'll ever have a black president of the United States, certainly not in my time.
Right.
Of course, I'm kind of old. So. But so that's a difference, a big difference, and with the change at that level come many other changes, not necessarily related, but one would have difficulty divorcing gains made in some other areas, not government or politics, but entirely different areas, because of the success of Barack Obama. Katrina Adams is the first African American woman ever, first African American person ever to head up the United States Tennis Association. And you may not be old enough to remember, but there was a time when Arthur Ashe and Althea Gibson could not play in many venues.
Absolutely. Because
of the discrimination against blacks. I was in the Marine Corps in 1945. The war was just ending, and black Marines, Tuskegee Airmen, I know you know who they are.
Yes, I do.
And black soldiers were treated less well than were Italian and German prisoners of war in the South. So much has changed. As I am fond of saying, pardon me, as I am fond of saying, things are not yet what they need to be, but thank God they're not what they used to be.
Well, the one thing I have noticed, and I obviously, as a graduate of Brooklyn Law School like yourself and Percy Sutton, etc., there was a time where Percy Sutton, Charlie Rangel, Basil Patterson, what we know as the Gang of Four, really propelled the issues of the African American community in this city. And from my perspective, has really set the course to what we're now experiencing in the city. Do you think there's anybody else today, or a group of gentlemen, or a group of women, or both together, working for that same type of level of cause?
Oh, sure. We have women and men of color, and some who are not of color, who recognize the imminent fairness of treating people equally.
Right.
And I'll give you an example. I can remember I was a city clerk during the period 1975 to 1985. City clerk is voted into office by the members of the city council. At that time, there were 35 members. Today, there are 51. But back when it was 35, and the head of the council, today called the speaker, in those days called the majority leader. And I remember they had a so-called gay rights bill. And it was really just to include gay rights with other areas where people were sometimes ill-treated. And they had more than half of 35 members who had signed on to this bill. But the majority leader, today's speaker, would not let that bill out for a vote.
Wow.
Today, very recently, the speaker of the city council was a married lesbian. A woman who ran gay rights in my administration, Dr. Marguerite Hill, was a black lesbian who was the head of the gay men's health crisis. And as you doubtless know, there was a time when, were it not for the gay men's health crisis, we would have lost a lot more people, because a lot of folks were unsympathetic.
Right.
And some black churches, some ministers took the position of that's God's way of punishing those people. But we've come a long way since then.
Yes, we have.
A woman named Deborah Fraser Howes founded something called the National Black Leadership Commission on AIDS, and I was chairman for 5 or 6 years. And Deborah was so smart. She in affiliates or chapters that we had around the country, each was headed by a black clergyman together with a black elected official. Made all the difference.
Huge difference.
And so many things have changed. We say that when Jackie Robinson withstood the taunts and the abuse of many fans, that helped not just ball players or black ball players, but helped in many other areas, other disciplines. And so we have come a long way, but we got a long way yet to go.
With that way of where the world is going and things are changing, and when you talk about equality for gay and lesbian people, for African Americans, socially, economically, etc., what should the African American, and I don't know if elite is the right word, or the political savvy are the right word, or the activist is the right word, but what should the community as a whole, those that hold power and hold influence, should be doing?
Well, they should recognize that fair is fair, and equality is that which should be sought by each of us. And we should recognize that it's just plain illogical, some of the things that we in this country have done. For instance, women couldn't even vote until 1920. Now, how illogical is that?
Right.
I can tell you, as one who got a degree in mathematics and a law degree long before you got yours at Brooklyn, the smartest people in my classes were women. And so it's just nonsense. And as a father of a daughter, and et cetera, it's pretty clear to me that it never made sense, does not make sense now. And so we ought to seek equality and fairness in all things for all people.
I want to go a little bit off topic, because we're sitting at Columbia University and we talked about Brooklyn Law School and mathematics. When you look at education, how can we create more education opportunities and in some ways educational interests in younger people that gets them excited about the fact that they too can become a David Dinkins or a Charles Archer or a Barack Obama?
Well, I think first off, we need to demonstrate, and it's not difficult to do this, and I don't make reference to myself. I'd be delighted to include you, however, But I think more people need to know and understand that many of us have been able to achieve some things because of the assistance of many others. We say often, everybody stands on somebody's shoulders.
Absolutely.
Nobody gets anywhere alone. The fellow who's standing on third base and thinks he's there because he hit a triple does not understand.
Mm-hmm.
And I think as we, the broad we, let the world know that any one of us can achieve and has the capacity to do that which is fair and just. I never ever argued that I was the smartest guy in the room. I was just the person who had the good fortune of getting elected the 106th mayor of this great city, and I had the further good fortune of having an awful lot of people who helped me while in office as Manhattan Borough President and as mayor, and they made me sound smart. The current mayor, Bill de Blasio, he and his wife, they met in our city hall.
Wow.
And I tell Charlene, she worked in the speech writing and press office. I told her she used to make me sound smart. And I tell you something else. Here, I don't know whether the camera can pick up. It's Jesse Jackson. And this is 1989, November, when I got elected mayor. And of course, that's Basil Patterson and Bill Lynch. But the point I want to make is that I ran 3 times for Manhattan Borough President before I succeeded. I ran in 77, in 81, and in 85. I finally succeeded in 85. People used to say to me, "What do you do?" And I say, "I run for borough president." Now, here's the significant thing. I supported Jesse in 84. A lot of folks who were there in 88 were not there in 84. But I supported him in 84. I became borough president in 85. I supported Jesse in 88. I became mayor in 89. So I'm not suggesting it means anything, but those are the facts.
I'm going to suggest it does mean something. In my latest book, I talk about Everybody Paddles, a leader's blueprint to creating a unified team. And the whole concept around the book is about we all have to add value. We all have to contribute in some possible way. And when I hear that story and I look at that photograph, I see that you have contributed value in other people's lives that in so many ways paid off a year or 2 later in other people's lives. When I look at your book, tell me a little bit about why you decided to write that book and what does it mean to you?
Well, many of my friends have urged that I ought to write a book, as they say to many of us who had any degree of success. They say, "Oh, you ought to write a book." And so I didn't write a book to proclaim my greatness, which I cannot do in any event.
Right.
But I wrote that book because I wanted to tell the story. Now, the book is imperfect. I'm confident that there are things that we should have included that we did. Pardon me, we did not.
You got time for a second one?
And we'll see. But it did enable me to cover a lot of stuff, and it makes you reminisce. It's like I sit back and look at some of these photographs. There is Inauguration Day, January 1st, 1990. On our extreme right, near the lectern, you see Harry Belafonte, who was the master of ceremonies. Harry had a birthday just the other day, and I kid him all the time because he's about 5 or 6 months older than I am. But he's a dear friend, and there, of course, with the cap on is Percy Sutton. Percy and Basil Patterson and Charlie Rangel, my brother, they call us the Gang of Four. They didn't mean it as a compliment, but we took it that way. And so in writing the book, it's just like sitting at this desk and looking around at Madiba and Paul Robeson and other of my heroes, many of whom are really heroes of mine, whose photographs I do not have in this room, but I have them someplace, like John Lewis. I mean, who among us could have said, I'm going to walk across that bridge knowing that every step of the way you're going to get beat and brutalized? And Dr. King saying, turn the other cheek, just keep walking. But that's what John Lewis did. So he's one of my real heroes.
When you think about your legacy, and you think about all that you've done, what is the one thing you want us to remember?
Well, I guess if we're really limited that way.
It's not limited, but you can say as many as you want.
No, it really would be that I love children, young people. That's why I enjoy so much being here at Columbia University. My students are graduate students, but they're young, and they constitute our future. We old people say that to young people all the time. You are our future. But they really, truly are our future.
Absolutely.
And if we think about it that way and appreciate what they are doing or will do, I think we have a greater understanding of where we stand. And I say to young people all the time that we old folks owe them the ability to achieve their potential. Now, when I was coming along, I was born in 1927, so right smack in the middle of the Depression. So way back when, we were told things like you got to pay your dues, and you gotta, of course you have to work hard, and of course you need to get educated. No question about that. But what's important is we older people owe the young people the capacity to achieve their potential. Each generation should do better than the one before. And so I say to our little boy who's 60, and I call him Daddy Little Fella, and he's terrific. And his sister,
20 years ago, I started a not-for-profit for people with disabilities called Evelyn Douglas Center for Serving People in Need, where we support people with intellectual and developmental disabilities because I want my legacy to be above and beyond just myself. When you look at the black community, and within the black community there are individuals with mental and other type of disabilities that must be addressed. And you look at the black community here in New York, being Harlem and Brooklyn, for the fact of New York City, when you think about Chicago or Detroit or Atlanta or North Carolina, etc., what do you think it's going to take to create succession plans that generational pass along actually occurs within our community?
well, I think we need to tell each other, and not only tell each other, but behave in a way that indicates that we really truly understand and mean it when we say we owe them the ability to achieve their potential. And I say to young people all the time, I mean the little ones who are 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, or those who are in college, I say to all of them, big ones take care of the little ones. And always take care of mommy and daddy. You have to say mommy and daddy because there are many of us who don't have two parents.
Right.
My mother and father separated when I was 6 or 7 years old, living in Trenton where I was born. My mother came here to New York, domestic, cooking and cleaning for folks for I guess $1 a day, because these are the early 30s.
Right.
And but I will never forget, my mother, she thought I could do anything. When I finished high school, she thought we ought to have a parade. I mean, she, I was fortunate When my father told me he was going to remarry, I cried a week. Because I always thought Mommy and Daddy would get back together. But God is good. It developed that my stepmother was like another mother. It is because of her more than any other single factor that I went to college, because I got out of the Marine Corps in August of 1946, and I wanted to party. I had $200 or $300, which was more than I'd seen at one time in life, and I wanted to just have a good time. But she insisted I should go to college. I said, well, it's too late. It's August, school starts in September. She said, don't worry, I can get you in. And it develops that she was a Howard graduate, class of 29, and a classmate of hers, Dr. Carol Miller. And Dr. Miller was in charge of Veterans Affairs. So I don't even know whether they even had SATs in those days, but I had pretty good grades in high school, and I'm a veteran, and so that took care of the tuition.
I'm glad you told that story, because I think a lot of times we, the collective, and even both of us, have not shared the individual and personal struggles that has gotten someone like you to your place and gotten others to where they are. How important would it be for us to sit down and literally explain to a younger generation, not just about taking care of the little ones, but about that easy isn't really easy?
No, well, I think it's very important, and each opportunity I have to go talk to groups of young people. I talked to a group of youngsters from Jack and Jill a few weeks ago, and they had some real little ones, 4 and 5 years old, and some older ones. I tell them all the same thing.
Right.
It may be that when you're speaking to a child of 4 or 5, you have to choose your language slightly differently because you want to be understood.
Right.
But it is exactly the same thing as you would say to somebody with a degree, in a bachelor's degree. It's the same thing, except you choose different words because you want to be sure that what you're trying to convey is understood. And I don't think that I'm supposed to get any medals for doing this.
Right.
I think that's the least that I ought to do. And I think that each of us should try to help youngsters coming along. And if we remember from our own lives, nobody but nobody gets anywhere alone. Everybody stands on somebody's shoulders. And I can point to all kinds of examples of people who have assisted me. I don't mean who wrote a big check or who turned out some votes. Of course that counts.
Right.
But I'm talking about way long before that.
Or way long after that.
Yeah, when my 8th grade and 9th grade teacher in Latin, it was in Trenton, New Jersey, a total black faculty, student body, administration, and I never did better than a B. Sometimes I got a B- in Latin. When I got to high school, which was integrated, the 10th grade, I led the class. Why? Because Bernice Muntz had insisted that I learn. And to this day, I know that I did sufficiently well in English grammar because of the teacher I had in freshman English at Howard University, Alice Jackson Houston. And I had a student Google try to find her a few years ago. She had died in 2001, I believe, but she had a son who was a judge in the Washington, D.C. area. And I got him on the phone, and these were not his words, but he said in effect, "Why are you calling me?" And I said, "I just want you to know what your mother did for me."
Wow.
So I have been very fortunate. I've lots of good fortune in life.
I recently saw you at the Black Agency Executives Luncheon,
Oh,
which
yeah.
is always an opportunity to hear you speak, etc., which kind of lets me know that it doesn't stop after the cameras stop following you. What's next for Mayor Dinkins?
Oh, well, I'm just happy they let me stay here at Columbia University in the School of International and Public Affairs. I've been here since I lost my other job, which was not my idea, but got evicted from public housing. That's what Gracie Mansion is, you know.
Very nice public housing.
Not bad. So, so I expect that I'll be here for at least another 3-4 years, and given my advanced years, it may be that that's the limit. We'll see.
When we look at and you talk about women, the women who've influenced your life, the women who personally have done things for you, etc. We saw Letitia James get elected, which is really exciting. We've seen across the benches all the women that have definitely made an impact in our legal system. What do you think about Hillary in 2016?
One, I think she's going to run. Two, if she does run, I'll be first in line,
Okay.
doing all I can to help her.
I think we're really about to see some history being made, which I think is great.
I think so.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much, sir, for your time. I appreciate
Thank
you
buddy.
very much.
Thank you.